I feel like the fact that you can literally like see me blushing with excitement over blood and murder and mayhem is a little bit scary, but I promise I'm a well-adjusted human being and I'm perfectly okay. Okay, hello besties, my name is Mina, welcome to my channel Mina Reads, and today we're going to be talking about some of my most anticipated releases for 2024. Mind you, we're already very deep into 2024. I'm filming this in mid-February. I don't know exactly when I'm going to post this, but I did want to take a moment to tell you guys about all of the releases that are coming out this year that I'm excited for, because I just realized today, it's currently February 13th, that one of my most anticipated releases of the year, but also maybe ever, is coming out, and that is Megan by Rebecca Weatherspoon. Rebecca Weatherspoon is one of my favorite romance authors of all time. I just absolutely love their books. I feel like they just really speak to me. So I love her books. I love the way that she writes like erotic, sweet, swoon-worthy romances. And this book, Megan, has been years and years and years in the making. So Megan is about this woman who's a kindergarten teacher, and she is in her 30s, and she is really happy with her life and the way that things are set up in terms of like career, in terms of her family, friends, but in love she's feeling really lonely, especially because a lot of her friends are settling down, and this is feeling like really acutely painful for her because she has spent a lot of her early 20s in like this really close-knit like BDSM scene, and so a lot of her close friends now in her 30s are people that she used to be scene partners with in her 20s, and so she kind of developed feelings for some of those people, and so it almost feels like a sense of rejection knowing that once those people finally settled down, it wasn't with her. So she's experiencing a lot of like emotional angst as far as romantic relationships go, and she ends up in this kind of really ridiculous and contrived scenario where her friend knows this millionaire dude who needs like a date to come with him to some political events, and so she's like, oh, like Megan will fake date you, she's not really doing anything, so why not like go on some fake dates with her, that'd be cool. So her and this millionaire dude named Roland meet, and this is about them like meeting and falling in love and all that good stuff. So like I said, I have been so eagerly anticipating this release for years because Megan first shows up in Rebecca's books in like, I believe the book came out in like 2015, the first book that she was ever in, and it just is so crazy to me to finally have this like coming full circle when we finally get to see Megan's love story and all that good stuff. So very exciting. Like I have had this pre-ordered for a while, and it just hit my Kindle today, and once it hit my Kindle I was like, oh my god, I never talked about my most anticipated releases, so I had to do this, one, to celebrate this huge milestone in the Weatherspoon cinematic universe, but also to celebrate all of the books that I'm excited to read this coming year. So that's the first one. Let's talk about the other ones, and I promise I will be a bit more brief about the other books that I'm excited for. I'm also not talking about these in any particular order, so some of these will have already released, some of these won't be releasing until the latter half of the year. It's a bit all over the place as a list, okay? Alright, so up next we have This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. This is the second book in the Skyland series. The first book is Before I Let Go. This book is about the main character in that first book's like best friend. Her name's Soledad. Soledad's a single mom. This is about her meeting this man in the aftermath of like her getting divorced and really trying to pick up the pieces of her life. It's gonna be, I'm sure, another sexy angsty romance from Kennedy Ryan. I really enjoy Kennedy Ryan's writing style, so I'm excited to read more from her always. So yeah, I'm really excited for this one, and she is going to be having like an author event in my city when the book comes out, so I think I'm going to go to that author event if I can. I feel like that would be really exciting to go to the book signing, so I'm very eagerly anticipating this romance. I think it'll be a good one. Okay, so at the very tail end of 2023, I read this book, and it was called Role Playing by Yardley, and it was this really, really sweet rom-com about like these two middle-aged gamers falling in love with each other, and it was so, so sweet. It was the first time I ever read anything by that author, but it definitely sold me on her as an author in general. And so the cover just got revealed for her book, which is called Do Me a Favor, and this is about a woman who's a ghostwriter, which is really interesting. So she ghostwrites cookbooks, and she's been experiencing like some writer's block, and so she ends up meeting this guy. He's a handyman, and she meets him, and he becomes kind of like her inspiration in some way. It just sounds like it's going to be cute and fun and swoon-worthy, and I really enjoyed role playing, so I think I'm going to love this one as well. And I also have to say a huge shout out to Lenny Kaufman, because I love Lenny Kaufman covers. They're always so adorable. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about two books that are from the same author, and my first read of 2023 was a book called A Taste of Golden Iron, which was this really, really amazing queer fantasy romance. I adored it so, so much. Okay, and so Alexandra Roland is coming out, or rather has come out, because I believe it came out in early January, has come out with another book in this series, which is about a beloved side character of mine. His name is Tadak, and this is like a 100-page novella about Tadak and this princess that he's like falling in love with. I'm excited to reconnect with these characters, this world, and Tadak, who was my favorite, one of my favorite aspects of A Taste of Golden Iron, like he just was so fun and I loved him so much as a character. So I'm excited to see a story that is fully focused on him. And also Alexandra Roland has another book coming out. This one is called Running Close to the Wind. This is a poly pirate fantasy romance and it just sounds like everything that I need and want in life so badly. So from what I understand, it's about this one guy that's like a con man or a thief or something like that, and he has this ex that is a pirate captain, and he strikes this deal with his ex to help him transport this like piece of information that he has stolen from this like very dangerous government, and he wants to sell it on the black market for like a ton of money. It's about them trying to sell this information, and there's also some other character that's going to be involved in their relationship dynamic. To what degree, I don't know, but the synopsis makes it sound very, very poly, and I'm very, very excited. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good time. I want to read more books about pirates because I feel like pirates are something that I like watching like movies and shows about. So I would love to read some more piratey books. So if you have any recommendations, do let me know in the comments below. Speaking of poly fantasy romances, I don't know that this is a fantasy romance necessarily. I think it's a fantasy book that has poly elements, but this is called The Sky on Fire by Jen Lyons, and this book is about a girl who, I believe she's like in some kind of mortal danger. She gets saved by this crew of bandits or whatever, and they are trying to get her to like this mystical cloud city where she can help them like wrangle some dragons or something like that. And it has something to do with dragon riding, and it's also poly, and I have heard a lot of really good things about this author. I don't know if Jen Lyons' other series, which is called like A Chorus of Dragons, I don't know if that series fully appeals to me, but this one I'm very, very interested in, so I will be checking this one out when it releases this summer. And more on poly fantasy, A Court of Wanderers by Rin Chupeco, which is the second book in the Silver Under Nightfall series, is coming out, and I believe this book is coming out in like March or April, something like that. And I really loved Silver Under Nightfall. It's a very fun like vampire fantasy story. If you are someone who enjoyed the Castlevania TV show on Netflix, or if you played the Castlevania game, like I think you'll really appreciate it because the atmosphere and the setting is very similar in tone and like style to that. And our main character is sort of a Trevor Belmont type character, where he comes from this long line of vampire hunters, and he has a lot of like hatred and animosity towards vampires, but he ends up on a epic quest to like save the world with the help of a vampire that he has beef with. So it very much gives like Trevor and Alucard vibes in terms of that, but instead of it being like a magic user like Sypha is just another like vampire queen, I just love the vibes between Xiaodan, Zidane, and Remy so much. So I'm excited to see where their story is going to end up next. It's a fun fighting adventure fantasy that has like some sexy elements, and it's perfect for me. So I'm hoping that this second book is going to be good and it's going to beat like the second book syndrome that a lot of fantasy books fall into. I'm praying on everything that it's going to be good. So yeah, I'll be checking that one out as soon as I possibly can. And speaking of sequels to beloved series, just realized that the third book in the Between Earth and Sky series is coming out. The first book in that series is Black Sun. I really love Black Sun. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've read that. I believe I've read Black Sun maybe 4 or 5 times already, because when I first read it, I immediately went back to the beginning. I listened to the audiobook over. I reread it once I got my physical copy and annotated it. Like, I was obsessed deeply, okay? But then when I read the second book, Fevered Star, I did not like Fevered Star at all. Like, at all. I enjoyed almost none of my reading experience with that book, which terrifies me. Like, I'm so scared to read this third book in the series, but I think I'm just going to have to like dive in and reread the whole series from the beginning and then go into Mirrored Heavens. But I'm excited regardless. I feel like maybe, you know, Fevered Star was caught up in what I'm very like anxious about with Court of Wanderers, which is second book syndrome. I feel like when book series have, you know, multiple installments, sometimes that middle book, it falls into the trap of like there's not enough interesting stuff happening, or there's a lot of like contrived things happening where like characters are separated so that they can come back together and really epically in like the third book and things like that. And I get it, but at the same time it always makes the second book a little bit of a drag in my opinion. So I'm hoping that that's the situation here with Between Earth and Sky, and so I'm really gonna love the third book. Like, fingers crossed that I'm gonna love it. So I'm anticipating it, but I'm also very scared about it. Yeah. All right, we're going to talk about a few more fantasies, and then I think we might dive into some of the romances that I'm anticipating again. So we have Lore of the Wilds by Anale Cibrana. This book is a fantasy romance series that has like a really prominent love triangle, and it also deals with like fae and magic and all that good stuff. And I'm excited. This first book in a series. I'm very excited to be seeing like a very prominent, like very hyped and buzzed about and heavily marketed like black fantasy romance. I'm excited about that so much, so I can't wait to read Lore of the Wilds. It's on my February TBR. I will be getting to it as soon as possible. So yeah, that's pretty much all I know. That's all I need to know. I will be reading it, and hopefully I will be loving it. Okay, so I have another fantasy book to tell you about, and that book is Mistress of Lives by K.M. Enright. So from what I understand about this book, it sounds like it's really bloody and vengeance heavy. So it's about this character who like murders their own father to take his place as like the head of the family. So this ends up like involving her in this really epic like revenge plot, and in so doing she meets up with a bunch of different people. I think her name is Shan, and then there are two other characters named Samuel and Isaac that are like players in the plot, and she gets embroiled in this whole like big mysterious conspiracy thing. There's nothing that I love more, okay, than violent women, okay, blood, murder, mayhem, and also there's polyamory in it. So of course I'm reading it. I'm so excited. I'm so happy that I just discovered this book, just like casually scrolling on Twitter. Say what you will about Twitter, because there are many bad things to say about it, and I will never call it X. Sorry to Elon Musk, but I will never call it X. Say what you will about Twitter, but it's a great place for discovering new books, especially by like new debut authors, because a lot of authors are, you know, like networking on there and talking to each other and hyping each other up, and so I'm always eavesdropping and spying, and that's how I find all of my like interesting sort of niche books that I talk about sometimes. So shout out to Twitter for that one little thing. They ate that one little thing. But yeah, I'm really excited to read this. Like, it just sounds bloody and murderous, and I'm excited. Like, I feel like the fact that you can literally like see me blushing with excitement over blood and murder and mayhem is a little bit scary, but I promise I'm a well-adjusted human being, and I'm perfectly okay. Okay, more fantasy. We have Faebound by Sarah El Arafi. It's about a warrior who's like placed into exile, I believe, and that's all I really know about the plot. That's all I really need to know. I love a good warrior-based fantasy. I'm hoping I'm really gonna love this. People have said many good things about this author and like their craft and their world building, so hopefully I'm going to enjoy this. I don't think that their other book series is for me, just based on the synopsis. They just don't sound like my cup of tea. Don't sound fun to me, but this one sounds like it'll be a good time, so I'm tuned in. Then we have two more fantasy books that are on my radar. So one is How to Become the Dark Lord or Die Trying by Django Wexler. This book is about a woman who, she's kind of stuck in like a Groundhog Day style time loop where she is trying to defeat this like Dark Lord who is trying to take over the world. But like I said, she's in this Groundhog Day scenario, so she keeps having to go back and do it over and over and over again. She just gets so fed up with playing the hero in this scenario that she says, fuck it, I'm going to become the Dark Lord. And that just sounds so interesting, and I love when books have insane silly titles, so I have to check it out. I think it'll be fun. If it's not fun, that's fine. I still have to experience it. I have to know how it's going to work out, and I enjoy stories that are about like heroes becoming the villain in some way, shape, or form, so I will be checking it out, and hopefully it will be good. So now we're going to get into more of the romances that I'm really excited for this year. So we have The Truth According to Ember by Danica Nava, and this is a book about two indigenous protagonists. And so we have our main character Ember, who is searching for a job and she can't find one, so she gets a little bit creative with her resume, her job applications, and she lies and says that she's white instead of indigenous, and she ends up actually landing a job. So this is like a workplace romance about her and a guy that works in the IT department at her new job, and the relationship that's blooming between them, but also like the secrets, lies, and manipulations and all that stuff because of the way that she, you know, fabricated the truth a little bit on, or a lot of it actually, on her resume. I'm always trying to read more books by indigenous authors and about indigenous protagonists, so when I saw that this book was being traditionally published by Berkeley, I was really excited to see that. I hope it's like a huge step forward in terms of diversity and the types of acquisitions that are being made by these publishing houses, and who's getting like the good marketing budgets and all that good stuff, you know what I'm saying? Really excited to check this book out and give this author my support for their debut. I hope it's going to be a really good one. And then another romance that I'm excited for is Out of Office by A.H. Cunningham. I read a book by this author last year, and it was like an erotic romance, and it was a really good time. Like, it was very interesting, and I liked it a whole lot. So I'm excited to read more by this author, and she already has a pretty extensive backlist. This release is like a vacation romance about two workaholics who meet and connect on a vacation. And yeah, I love a good vacation romance, so I hope I'm going to enjoy this. I think it might be like the perfect read for summer or like spring while you're eagerly anticipating the summer months. So yeah, I'm going to be checking that one out, and I hope it's going to be really good. Okay, so the next romance that I'm really excited about is called The 710 Split by Carmen Lee, and this is a sapphic romance, and this is about two women who used to be like best friends, but they are not anymore because things got a little bit confusing in their relationship after they shared a kiss. And so now they are sort of like rivals in this bowling competition, and they're also working at the same school because they're both teachers. And so this is about them like reconnecting and all of that good stuff. I think it's really interesting that they're into bowling. I don't know that I've ever read a book that featured bowling as like a prominent hobby that the characters had, so I'm interested to see how that's going to play a role in the story. And honestly, I suck at bowling, so I'm not too familiar with all the bowling terms and all that good stuff, but I mean, I think it'll be fun. And I don't know why, but I really love romances that are about teachers. I don't know what the science is behind it, but I always like it a whole lot, so I'm excited to give it a shot. The next book that I'm really hyped for is When I Think of You by Maya Ariel. It's like this Hollywood set romance, and it's about, so this is like a Hollywood set second chance romance, and it's about this girl who has ambitions to be like a filmmaker, but she currently just works a reception job at like a film studio, and she feels like her career is really stalling out. But she gets the opportunity of a lifetime after going to like her film school college reunion and meeting this guy that was a former flame of hers, and he invites her to work on his new movie with him. And so yeah, this is like about them rekindling their college relationship and also trying to get this movie off the ground. I really enjoy a good like Hollywood actor film based book. I don't know why, but it's something about that's really exciting to me. I guess maybe because I enjoy celebrity drama, but at the same time I know that being deeply embedded in like celebrity business and having like parasocial relationships with celebrities is like very unhealthy, weird. So I get my kicks reading celebrity romances instead. Another romance that I'm excited about, this is a fantasy romance. It is A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. This book is like a Viking inspired fantasy romance. And yeah, like it's going to be a part of a larger series that's called The Saga of the Unfated, which is an interesting series title. Very interesting. Y'all know me, especially if it's a fantasy book, I really don't want to know what the plot is about. I just want to be surprised. I want to be like, oh my god, wow, wig, who knew? That's how I want to feel when I'm reading a fantasy book. I don't want to know all the details. So for me, I'm just vibing. I'm going in knowing nothing except that it's Viking inspired fantasy and that the cover is amazing. So that's all I need to know. I'm armed with that knowledge, and I think that that should be enough for me to have a good reading experience. Okay, so next I'm going to tell you about 3 sapphic romances in rapid succession. So get your pen out, get your Goodreads out, and be ready to put these on your TBR. So the first one is Second Night Stand by Corellius Thies-Waters. And this is a romance book about a black ballerina and a burlesque dancer. I'm sold. I'm sold already. I love stories about performers. We've previously established that, and I think that burlesque is like really interesting to me, so I'm excited to read a book about a burlesque dancer and see like how that's going to be represented and how that's going to play a role in the plot. I enjoyed Corellia's books in the past, so I'm hoping that this is going to be a really good one. We have A Little Kissing Between Friends by Chensia C. Higgins. This is a black sapphic romance, and this is about 2 best friends who are crushing on each other really intensely. So one of them works as a DJ in like a nightclub, and the other one works as a dancer in the nightclub. I think she's a stripper. Maybe she's a go-go dancer, I'm not sure, but she's a dancer in the club, and so they spend a lot of time in like these kind of compromising positions together, and some sparks are flying between them. So yeah, this is like a friends to lovers, friends with benefits type of story. I'm excited. I think I'm going to eat it up. I have enjoyed many books by Chensia in the past, but I haven't read a book by her recently, so I think this will be a good one. And the last sapphic book that I have to tell you about is Late Bloomer by Maisie Eddings. This is about a girl who wins the lottery, and so she wins the lottery, and with her new lottery money she buys a farm, but she gets to the farm and come to find out somebody else is also claiming that they own that land. So this is about her and that girl like negotiating a cohabitation situation because they both own the land somehow, some way, and it's like a romance between them. I've never read anything by this author, but this just sounds like a cute romance, and I really like the cover, so I'm willing to give it a shot. Hopefully I'm gonna like it. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about 2 more books and then we're going to wrap up here. So we have A Love Song for Nikki Wilde by Tia Williams. Tia Williams is the very beloved author of 7 Days in June, and this is her latest release. This book is about 2 like artists, and it's supposed to be like a really passionate it's supposed to be like a really passionate story about them 2 set in Harlem. And I know that the one character is like a socialite and the other character is described as being like a handsome, mysterious stranger. So that's all the synopsis really gives me in terms of plot. But I will be checking it out because I like Tia Williams' writing style. So I think it'll be a good time and I'm interested to see how it goes. And the last book that I have to tell you about is Bride by Ali Hazelwood, which is probably on a lot of people's most anticipated list of the year. But yeah, Bride is like a paranormal romance about this like vampire girl who has to get with this like alpha werewolf dude, and a lot of people are talking about it, and a lot of people are talking about this book being Omegaverse. And I want to tell you, as somebody who spent their adolescence in the trenches of AO3, this is not Omegaverse. This book is not Omegaverse, baby. This is just regular werewolf vampire paranormal romance. This is not Omegaverse. You guys don't know what Omegaverse is. Stop throwing that word around. It's not Omegaverse, okay? He's just a werewolf. Are we understanding? Omegaverse is something totally different than werewolf. So thank you so much for chatting with me for a little while today. I am so hyped for these 2024 releases. Let me know what 2024 releases you're excited for that I haven't mentioned in this list, because I always love when the comment sections give me recommendations and put me on to new authors and new books that I might love. So please let me know in the comments below. Let's interact, let's talk, let's chat. Also, leave me a little blue heart emoji in the comments if you made it all the way to the end of the video, and I'll know you're a real one. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Bye, you guys. Mwah.